Within the reference guide to regulatory compliance, I'm reading Protecting Tenants at Foreclosure Act of 2009, which was enacted as part of the Helping Families Save Their Home Act of 2009. It was part of a broader attempt by Congress to protect tenants from immediate eviction if their home they were renting was foreclosed upon. The law requires creditors to provide a 90-day notice to tenants before an eviction, and in certain cases requires the creditor to honor the lease. The law was originally set to expire on December 31st of 2012, but the Dodd-Frank Act extended it to December 31st of 2014. The coverage is foreclosures upon federally related mortgage loans defined in RESPA and includes any loan secured by a lien on a 1 to 4 family residential property, including individual units of condominiums and cooperatives, and any dwelling or residential real property loan. A bona fide lease or tenancy is covered, and that requires that the mortgage or the child, spouse, or parent of a mortgagor is not the tenant. Mortgagors or the child, spouse, or parent of the mortgagor is not the tenant. The lease or tenancy was the result of an arm's length transaction, and the lease or tenancy requires the receipt of rent that is not substantially less than fair market rent for the property, or the unit's rent is reduced or subsidized due to federal, state, or local subsidies such as Section 8 voucher. Successors, and interest. The immediate successor in the property after the foreclosure occurs. Requirements under Protecting Tenants from Foreclosure Act. General rule is that the successor in interest in the property assumes the interest subject to the notice to vacate and the rights of a bona fide tenant. Notice requirements, as mentioned before, is there's a 90-day notice to vacate before the effective date. And the rights of a bona fide tenant, Section C, under requirements of the Protecting Tenants at Foreclosure Act, is that the successor in interest in the property takes it in a foreclosure action subject to the rights of any bona fide tenant as follows. Under a bona fide lease entered into before the notice of foreclosure, tenants must be allowed to occupy the property until the end of the lease, unless the purchaser will occupy the property as a primary residence, subject to the requirement to give the tenant 90 days notice, or if there is no lease or the lease is terminable at will under state law, tenants must still receive the 90-day notice. For public housing assistance, D, the successor in interest in the property takes it subject to the lease between the prior owner and the tenant, and to the housing assistance payment contract between the owner and the public housing agency for the occupied unit. In other words, the successor in interest in the property must honor any Section 8 voucher leases and any existing housing assistance payment contracts that were entered into before prior to transfer of complete title. The existing arrangements must be honored no matter what the length of the remaining term, and then must provide the tenants with at least 90 days notice to vacate the property, subject to the rights of a bona fide tenant.